Fifth Hour, a current affairs show brought to you by Carleton University's School of Journalism in the nation's capital. I'm Courtney Smith.
And I'm Marika Large. In this week's show,
a deadly crash on Bronson Avenue has some residents demanding a solution to Ottawa's dangerous cycling routes before they claim another life.
It's time to send concussions to the penalty box. A local Ottawa company has created a new type of hockey helmet, one that will hopefully keep players off the bench and on the ice.
And they're not ghostbusters, they're ghost hunters. A group of Ottawa professionals gives us the inside scoop as to why one of Canada's national historic sites is giving visitors the creeps. And now for our top story.
The daily Ottawa commute can be a dangerous dance. Cyclists weave their way between cars. Cars swerve to avoid collisions. Sometimes this dance is deadly. 3 weeks ago, Carleton student Krista Johnson died while cycling on Bronson Avenue. Her death has reignited a long-time debate in our city over cycling infrastructure. Earlier this week, I had a chance to sit down with some Ottawa residents who say, enough is enough. For decades, cars have owned the streets of North America, but here in Ottawa, more and more cyclists are pushing for their share of the road. Change has its consequences. This spike now stands where life was cut short. A reminder to drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike that road safety needs to be a priority. 27-year-old Krista Johnson was struck and killed while cycling home from Carleton University. She was killed after colliding with a car on Bronson Avenue on the night of October 18th. Colin Grove White is one of many who stepped up to try and make a change.
This is a route that I take every day, and it's a route that's always scared me. It's unsafe for cyclists, it's unsafe for motorists. I knew that the actual infrastructure of the bridge was a major problem, and definitely a contributing factor to the accident.
Make Bronson Safer is the petition he started. It calls for a new bike and pedestrian bridge over the canal. This city councillor bikes to work every day. He's pushing the city to lower speeds on Bronson.
We know that although it's posted at 70, the average speed is 84. I'm here riding my bike today. I'm about to go up the bridge, up the road and over the bridge again, as I often do, but I'm going to feel scared as I do it. Mr. Confident Cyclist is going to feel scared again while I'm doing it.
Krista is the 16th person to die cycling on Ottawa streets in the past 5 years. Cyclists say the roads aren't built for sharing.
Because of the lack of bike lanes, you're almost forced to bike on the same roads as the cars.
Back in Holland, Joël van Otterloo cycled everywhere, but he says Ottawa's dangerous roadways have kept him off his bike.
In Holland, you have much more bike lanes. The infrastructure in Holland is much more adapted to biking because people bike all the time.
In Ottawa, drivers and cyclists are still learning to share the road. Police are first on the scene when things go wrong.
Some drivers of motor vehicle become impatient because bikes are slower.
People don't look at their shoulder and they open their door, and so you kind of have to go around the door. So.
On the other hand, you have bikes that don't obey the rules.
Especially when you're like turning on a red, like right on a red, and usually they're either like speeding up, like cycling really fast. They take up space in the road, right? And you got to leave them space. And on the other side, if there's another car coming.
When we get to an accident, we have the never my fault mentality.
Chris Barrett loves cycling, but he knows from experience how dangerous it can be.
Coming to a four-way stop, and it was early in the morning, and I thought I had the eye contact of the particular driver, but as I proceeded into the intersection, the driver accelerated and hit me from the side. You know, she apologized, and I just, you know, recognized that I wasn't hurt, there wasn't serious damage to the bike, and I just ended up riding off.
If things are going to change, there needs to be a shift in culture. Cyclists and drivers need to see each other as allies, working towards a common goal.
We need to take down this culture of motorists versus cyclists.
It's kind of sad that we need to come or we need someone to die for us to start thinking about these issues. And unfortunately, that's usually what happens.
I think you really need to start seeing more motorists go on bicycles and probably more cyclists driving in cars as well.
Governments or city councils will see the need to provide more facilities for the bikers here. If bikers just form a minority here, then there's not really much of a need to actually look after them.
I think once each of these groups is able to empathize and put themselves in the other's shoes, then you're going to see more understanding.
This is Ottawa. People don't ride in Ottawa. This is North America. You drive the car. Well, that's the old way of thinking, and that's how our city is designed. Well, the new, better way of thinking is there's many kinds of users on the road, and we want to encourage safe streets for everyone, including drivers, and we want to encourage cyclists to be on the road. That's a very desirable, energy efficient, calm, quiet way of riding.
This much is certain. A change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now.
Ottawa has this opportunity to be one of the great cycling cities in the world, and we just have to seize this opportunity. We are on the road, but we've got a lot still to do.
For the 25th hour, I'm Marika Large.
Masked by the darkness of night, they paint. For local graffiti artists, Ottawa is a blank canvas. Their work is often hidden in shadows, and it rarely receives a warm welcome. Reporter Natalie Van Roy examines this underground culture to discover whether or not graffiti really is art or simply just an act of vandalism. Natalie?
Courtney, art comes in many forms. Some are more appreciated than others. Ottawa graffiti artists are in a long-standing struggle to find recognition as art in the community.
An illegal form of art, graffiti can be found throughout Ottawa, scribbled on the sidewalks, drawn in alleyways, and spray painted in skate parks. Those behind the art are not always recognizable. Once an artist's identity is revealed, they often face punishment.
It took like a 2-month investigation, so it's said in the papers and stuff. And they caught me on security camera, and they saw that I was wearing skinny jeans, and like someone identified me. So I knew what I was getting into, and like just before they arrested me, like I had almost like accepted it that I was going to get caught. So. Yeah.
Ottawa's strict bylaws work to keep graffiti off the streets. Sergeant Norman Sondray at the Ottawa Police Service says, if the art is not on a designated wall, it is nothing more than vandalism.
It's a nuisance. It's bothersome. People don't enjoy having graffiti in their area, and we're the ones that get the call on having to deal with it. And it becomes problematic because when you're talking about graffiti that's hit a certain area, it impacts that area or that community, because if there's a lot of graffiti in the area, it brings the value of that community down. People see it as possibly crime-ridden. Businesses don't like it because it detracts from their businesses. So we get the call, and we view it as problematic.
I think it's more just a pain that really there's nothing artistic about it. It's just somebody scribbling names or whatnot. So I think that's more the poor looking image of it. I actually know some graffiti artists or whatnot, and they do beautiful work, and this kind of stuff just, I think, deteriorates their image more than help it in any way.
Law enforcement can't stop new graffiti from appearing daily. The Graffiti Response Team is a local business that keeps busy removing unwanted art. Greg Kiwan has removed all types of graffiti.
So if I was a tagger, I would come here and I would be like, I'm going to put my tag there, 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 I'm going to put it there, there, on the garbage can over there, all along the roof over here. I think the community needs to take a better approach, to be quite honest with you. I think people need to treat it as vandalism. If you saw somebody breaking into someone's car, you'd call 911. Seems to be kind of an out of sight, out of mind thing with graffiti and the public perception that they just don't call, they don't care, they just say, oh, well, it's just graffiti. But you know what? If it was the side of their house, they'd want somebody to call.
To get the job done quick, hot water and a power washer come in handy.
Power washing away some black spray bomb that was applied by a vandal to a concrete pillar. products. All of our products are environmentally friendly and are washed away by hot water power wash. Basically, once the product is washed away by water, it becomes soap. Doesn't harm the environment at all. That's what we would call a 100% successful removal of spray bomb from concrete.
I was 17.
When culprits are caught, they're often asked to clean up after themselves.
Was it the mayor and whatnot wanted me to be charged as adult, but I ended up being put through a diversion program. So I met with some social workers and just like agreed on some community service. Like I cleaned up all my stuff within 2 days. Did a bunch of cleanup garbage. Wrote a letter of apology to my parents and to the town, and also did an anti-graffiti poster. I still like follow it, if that makes sense. Like I'll go around Ottawa and I'll see stuff and I remember it all, and it's hard not to notice it now. I'm not going to do it myself. I can't say I support it in any way. For the most part, what I do now is just like legal painting at legal walls in Ottawa. Similar to maybe how someone will go to the gym every once in a while. I'll go and I'll kind of work out in that way and relieve some stress and whatnot.
Ottawa has 3 legal graffiti walls, one near Carleton University, one downtown, and one in Orleans. The legal graffiti walls, however, have yet to stop vandalism around the city.
I think it's actually pretty absurd that there are walls. They actually really draw in graffiti artists to a community. If you see the one down by Bronson and Slater, like the whole area is like pretty covered simply because that tech wall there is like a main attraction.
Very successful, actually. The city does a great job in promoting them, and they work together with actually, to my knowledge, 2 artists who are linked into the graffiti community. They've got plans to have other graffiti walls throughout the city. Again, it's a process at the city. You know, it takes time to get these things up and running, but it's been successful and continues to be.
Many stand by graffiti as a form of artistic expression. Rob Lariviere is a local graffiti artist who owns an art gallery on Bank Street. Fall Down Gallery has a collection of graffiti art on its walls to sell and promote local artists. Rob says Ottawa is a city that artists struggle to find exposure in.
It'd be nice to have more places for us to paint, but it's also good to paint, you know, not only where you're not allowed to, but, you know, there's a lot of places where you could just duck in and just, you know, take your time and not have to worry about it and not have to be in some park where people tell you to paint, you know. It should be looked at the same level because it's pretty outstanding on what people can do with a can, or just, you know, markers, or just the whole look of graffiti type canvases. I think it should be right up there totally with I don't know, acrylic, oil, stenciling, all that.
Until graffiti art becomes the norm, artists will have to continue etching discreetly while advocating for their rights. For the 25th Hour, I'm Natalie Van Roy.
Creative ingenuity isn't only on the streets, Courtney. It's also on the ice. An Ottawa company is changing the way concussions affect our national game, one helmet at a time. Our reporter Nick Wells explains. Nick?
Marika, while defenseman Brent Sullivan would rather be skating, a concussion is forcing him to watch from the stands. The puck drops, the fans cheer. Brent Sullivan watches from the press box.
Oh, this is big.
Sullivan is a varsity hockey player who knows all too well about players putting their body on the line to win. He can't play because of a concussion. He's unable to even skate until recovery, which doesn't have a set date. Any accidental hit could aggravate the injury and keep him out for even longer. Fortunately, technology is trying to get up to speed with the game. Impact Protective is one company looking to help. They have developed the Shock Box, a helmet sensor that measures concussions. Using a smartphone, it alerts trainers when players need to get off the ice. Danny Crossman, one of the co-founders of the company, says that shopping for a helmet sensor needs to become the norm.
It's a completely new concept, right? You go into a hockey store, you know you need sticks, skates, pads, helmet. You don't know you need a helmet sensor. So it's a completely new emerging brand of product that is coming. Everybody understands, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread once they understand it.
It was a hit to one particular head that was the inspiration for the company.
Scott, my business partner, and I discussing this potential. One Sunday, his son goes into the boards, gets a concussion, and he puts him right back onto the ice because he didn't know. And so we set up the company the next day.
The Shockbox has not become a staple in any leagues, but it's well on its way.
We're now selling in stores across the US and Canada, putting in teams, working with leagues and associations to not mandate it, but it's going through that route as part of their risk and safety protocol.
Confined to the locker room, Brent Sullivan can't join his teammates at practice. However, he says he's not sure a different helmet would have protected him.
With the rule changes and the game becoming faster and guys becoming bigger, and it's very hard to avoid it. And you could have the best helmet in the league, but a situation like myself last week, I got hit on the chin, and no helmet in the league would help that.
Even if he's not sold on the idea of the Shockbox, the awareness developing is encouraging.
I got my first helmet, like I said, at a young age, and back then nobody knew a thing about concussions. And as I progressed through junior and got a couple more, you could see people were starting to become more educated, and went and saw some specialists who knew a ton. And nowadays it's in every paper there's something on almost every day.
But are we simply not made to play the game? Dr. Michael Vasilyati, a neurosurgeon at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, says the brain can't handle the trauma of impact sports.
Now with all these high-velocity sports that people are involved in, I don't think when we were created that was being taken into consideration.
Carleton's men's hockey team used the Shockbox last year. Head coach Marty Johnston did notice issues, price being one.
I believe the women's program is using them, but obviously with budgets and things like that, they decided to go with one group, and they've gone with the women's program.
And the fact that the Shockbox does nothing to prevent concussions has some teams skeptical. And it looks funny.
The look of them was different, which the players didn't like, but other than that, there was no real effect on it. I don't think it changed how we dealt with concussions. I think it just provided some more information for the scientific people involved in terms of the impact speed and things like that.
If nothing else, rising awareness is changing the way concussions are managed. Teams can no longer rush an ailing player back onto the ice.
The protocol is really good. It's really out of the coach's hands, as it should be, I think. The trainers and doctors give them all baseline testing, and then from there there's tests that they take to show their improvement, and obviously then there's the signs of the player himself feeling better and things like that, but it's really not a coach's decision, nor should it be.
The Canadian Medical Association, with the NHL, published a report on concussions in April 2011. They found that while concussions were dropping, players spent more time recovering. When Penguins star Sidney Crosby was sidelined by a concussion in January 2011, it kept him off the ice for more than 10 months. But waiting longer for a complete recovery is key, Vasilyati says. The Shockbox helps teams understand what that means.
It's okay to declare your symptoms. It's okay to get the rest, because if you don't, you'll be sick for a longer period of time. So if you take the appropriate rest, you may be able to go back to the game earlier. If you don't, it might take longer to go back and play, if ever. Sometimes kids may not be able to play if their symptoms don't go away.
Sullivan, meanwhile, accepts that until there's a major development, he won't be the last to suffer a concussion.
I think they're going in the right direction, but it's going to be very hard to eliminate it completely.
For Johnson, the real focus is the player's future.
We want them to be getting degrees and moving on with a big part of their life where they won't be playing hockey.
For the 25th Hour, I'm Nick Wells.
Left behind after the death of a loved one is never an easy thing. Knowing you'll never be able to hear them, see them, or feel their touch again. Many people are taking a chance at communicating with the other side. Whether they need advice on how to improve their lives or simply for some closure, seeking a medium for emotional healing is more common than you think. The 25th Hour's Emily Dickinson has the story of one woman who credits a medium for helping her move on. Emily?
Courtney, there are a number of medical services in place for people dealing with grief after a loss. But science aside, many people are looking towards mediums for a different kind of emotional healing.
The difference between life and death can be a split second. After only 2 years of marriage, Natalie Kahali lost her husband tragically in March 2011. Almost instantly, she started to get signs and feelings that he had never left.
So my husband Philip passed away tragically in a car accident, and I wanted answers. I wanted to understand what happens after we die, because I had gotten so many signs from him, and my friends and family had seen the signs as well, and none of us knew what they were or were aware of them, but we became aware of signs after he passed.
A friend recommended she go see someone to talk about the messages she was receiving. That's when she was led to Laura Traplin. Laura offers a very special service, one that's in high demand for people like Natalie. Laura is a psychic medium. She calls on her spirit guides to help give her clients emotional healing.
Everybody that comes wants answers, right? Whether they want to improve their life, whether they want to connect with a deceased loved one. Some people come that have had really severe trauma, and it takes, they just want to know one thing to sort of unlock the door in order to improve their life. So
it's given me a perspective on the layers that exist beyond what we can see. And that's given me a lot of hope. So it's helped me a lot transition through the stages of grieving in a very different way, and it's very enriching, and in other aspects of my life too, not just around Phil's passing, but in other areas of change and transformation and development.
No one has yet to prove the abilities of psychics and mediums, or the healing they can provide. It goes against what many psychologists practice. Dr. Isabelle Boutet is concerned that people are wasting their money. The costs are comparable to psychological help, but the results aren't scientifically proven.
It's difficult because I'm a skeptic at heart, and I truly believe in science, that today we're in a world where science is our new religion, basically. And when we're looking at things like psychic readings or mediums, I think they can have a place in our society, but that place needs to be limited. The problem is the ideas and the beliefs that are conveyed by psychics or mediums are against what we know about long-term enduring psychological healing.
Laura receives most of her information telepathically. The rest comes from conversations with spirits. She began receiving messages in her early 20s, but shut it out of fear and confusion. She decided 12 years ago to put her skills to work.
And it just went like whoosh. I mean, it's never stopped since, never. It's just been like, sort of like floodgates opening, so what I suppressed from a long time ago started to really open up.
But Dr. Boutet offers another explanation to how psychics perform a reading.
They will keep their statements very general, so that the person hearing the statement can answer in a way that will lead the medium in the right direction. And they call this fishing.
The decision is personal. Some people feel alternative healing is a better option.
Some people would need to seek, professional help. For me, that was sufficient. It was a very different perspective. It was not focused on behavior. It was focused on a perspective that's much more expansive, and it resonated with me much more.
But I'm not doing the healing. I mean, that would be pretty presumptuous on my part to say that I'm doing the healing. You're the one that is sitting here and you're ready to have a shift in life, and they're doing the healing up there.
There's no scientific proof that humans can connect with spirits, but it provides many people with the closure they need to move on. For the 25th Hour, I'm Emily Dickinson.
Thanks, Emily. Not everyone in the Ottawa region likes being in contact with the other side. Later on in the show, the 25th Hour's Laura Jacobschuk takes us on a ghost hunt at one of our national historic sites.
And now on to a different kind of spiritual connection, the one you find between a child and a dog. The 25th Hour's Sherry Ask is here to tell us about the Ottawa Read program and introduce us to some gifted tutors. Sherry?
Marika, teachers will tell you, sometimes learning to read takes practice and the help of a supportive friend. We're at Lady Evelyn Alternative School in downtown Ottawa, where reading has gone to the dogs.
It's not every day you see a dog in the school hallway. Chantel Hutter and her dog Lola have special permission. Lola is an Ottawa therapy dog. She's specially trained for a program called Read. In the cozy corners of school libraries, children practice reading aloud while Lola listens.
Burrow.
They burrow into your fur.
Right
burrow into your
inside
skin.
and live a life of luxury. So
What it's about is taking reading from being something that's scary and something that they don't want to do and something that's hard for them to do to something that's fun.
Hutter was the one who brought the program to Ottawa 8 years ago. It started with just 2 dogs and 2 volunteers. Today, there are 20 dog handler teams across the Ottawa region.
I had seen the Read program on TV, and I had just known at that moment that that's what I was meant to do with my dog Chelsea at the time. It's a magical thing. It's hard to explain in words. When you see it, you get it.
Daddy talked about their car and Mama.
At Lady Evelyn Alternative School in downtown Ottawa, 8-year-old Laura Peterson is one of Read's success stories. She started reading with Portuguese water dog Jazz last spring.
I like reading with Jazz because I like reading about dogs books, like dog books I really love.
Martha McKenzie is a learning resource teacher at the elementary school who helps children improve their literacy skills. McKenzie has seen the benefits of the Read program firsthand.
It's a complicated thing to learn how to read. There's many steps to reading, and we have a number of children who stumble along the way and don't find that easy. This program, Read, enables children to have time alone to practice reading with somebody who is not a teacher. It's not just a child in a room with a dog and a book and somebody watching on. There's a very interactive part between the Read adult and the dog and the child.
McKenzie says when Laura started the program, she was considered a beginner reader. A year later, she can read picture books all by herself.
I just missed about.
Meet Gogo. He likes to sit on the deck and watch for squirrels. He also likes belly rubs and eating his homemade dog food. But when his bandana goes on, Gogo knows it's time to work.
And the bandana serves really 2 purposes. One is to alert people in the environment that this dog is here doing a particular job, but it's also to alert her that she's on the job and she needs to be on her best behavior. A couple of sentences. Gogo's a good read dog because she's very, very calm. She's very accepting, so Gogo doesn't care if a child's hair is messy, or if a child has a cold, or if a child is not reading to the level that he or she needs to be. She's a very, very gentle, tolerant dog, which makes her an ideal candidate.
Jake.
Rhymes with Jake?
Jake.
Tyler Clement participated in Read as a grade 1 student. He's in grade 3 now, but still remembers when reading out loud seemed a little scary.
Futural drummer. Because sometimes you get nervous reading in front of the class, and then people might laugh at you if you get like a word wrong or something like that.
The first letter is
Tanks.
There you go.
Well, the year that I had the Read program in my classroom, I had 3 students that were very shy. It was just amazing to see how they blossomed during the year. They came out of their shell.
Chapter 1. Still watch.
The only downside, not every child can participate. The program runs on volunteer support, so only 4 or 5 students can participate in a given school.
I mean, that would be a dream come true if we would have more time to have the dog come in more often.
All the kids want to be part of it, but unfortunately not everybody can be part of it.
Look how happy she is. She's gonna roll over. She's gonna roll over.
For those who do participate, learning gets disguised as a chance to play with a fluffy friend, something both teachers and students are okay with.
Reading with an Ottawa therapy dog is a positive experience, and we hope that it helps to instill the love of reading and to make reading more fun for children. Say thank you, Lola. Say thank you.
Good girl. Now, if you have your own Lola or Gogo at home and you think they'd be well suited for the Read program, you can check out their website, ottawatherapydogs.ca, for more information. Marika?
Thanks, Sherry. That brings tutoring to a whole new level. Later on in the show, Danielle Clausen sits down with Ottawa's Dee Sullivan. They'll bring us another chapter in the challenges that come with learning to read, this time for adults.
There's a new diet in town. Gluten is getting the boot. More and more Canadians are choosing to say goodbye to staples such as breads and pastas. And while this might be helping their waistlines, as reporter Laura Nicholson explains, some wallets are starting to feel the pinch. Laura?
Courtney, for those students who are short on time and on a budget, eating at restaurants like this one is a common occurrence. But for those students avoiding gluten, a quick lunch stop may not be so simple.
Flour, my favorite. Burgers, probably with bread crumbs. For some reason, they just put them in there. Yeah, got some breadcrumbs. Yeah, so bagels. So no bagels. Used to eat a lot of bagels. Can't eat this. Pudding's the worst. Forget pudding. More crackers. I don't know why we have these. Noodles, instant. So if I really want to get sick quick, then I can eat that.
More and more Canadians are eating excessive amounts of wheat in their diets. As a result, they are finding out that they are gluten intolerant. Gluten is a protein found in wheat and other grains. Jordan Follis was severely suffering from his asthma when a friend suggested that he stop eating gluten.
Really bad for anyone. Like, it's just, you can just see all the. So I tried it, and then in about a week or so, my asthma started disappearing, and my lungs cleared up, and I was a lot healthier. So, and then my energy was better, I slept better, there's a lot of things improved. The quality of my life is better as a student since I eat this way, so it just pays off. Yeah.
Nutritionist Jody Turner has seen the negative effects of gluten in her clients. She warns people who are allergic to stay away.
Because for someone with celiac disease, as little as 1 molecule of gluten can set off a reaction of the body that can take up to 4 months to clear up. 1 molecule. You could technically breathe in that molecule of flour, and for it to set off a reaction that's going to take 4 months for the system to clear. Inflammation, 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 indigestion, etc.
Josh Martin is gluten intolerant. His boyfriend, Jamie Rice, decided to follow the diet as well.
When we started dating, he decided that he felt really bad eating bread products in front of me. I don't really care just because I'm used to it, but he felt bad, so he decided that he would stop eating all sort of wheat products. And he's felt a lot better. He's on days where after he won't have wheat for a consistent few days, he'll have a lot more energy, and he finds he's able to focus a little bit better, which is a really common thing that a lot of people report when they go off of gluten and stuff.
Gluten can be found in most prepared foods, making it difficult for someone allergic to gluten to eat out.
And so in just North America, like, we're just so sandwich centric. You know, if it's not a sub, then it's a burger. You know, like, why do we have to wrap everything in a bun to make it edible? You know, like, it's very easy for us to have something like a quinoa salad, you know, but can you find a quinoa salad on campus?
If you forget to make your lunch, you can't just go out and get a sandwich. You have to go and get like a salad that you know has only like balsamic vinegar and olive oil on it, because everything else is thickened with wheat. Well, it's really nice coming to a place like this that actually has soups, like Amy's soups, because all the other, like, literally every single soup company puts hydrolyzed wheat protein in all of their stuff. So none of it's ever gluten-free. Even if it's just like a regular like rice and chicken soup, it always has wheat in it. So like, if I'm sick, I have to go specifically to like a certain grocery store and pick up soup. That's usually a little bit more expensive, but it's gluten-free because for some reason soup like has to have wheat in it.
Yeah, it's much more expensive, but it's a priority. So it's just like, I might not buy as much booze one weekend, or I might just cut out other things. Like I might not buy new jeans or whatever. It's just a priority. So
normally I'm one that would opt for buying organic everything, but because I already have to spend so much more extra to get everything that's gluten-free, I'm not able to afford buying organic all the time. So that's kind of disappointing, but
Eating gluten-free can sometimes push a student budget into the red. Bagels can be more than double in price. Spaghetti is twice as expensive. Bread nearly matches that, and there are lots more examples like that. And that's why stores like Nature's Buzz are making more room on their shelves.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many companies these days doing gluten-free. Like I mentioned earlier, we got gluten-free waffles from Nature's Path, and even pre-made gluten-free pizzas and burritos and things like that. So the list goes on and on. It's grown a lot in the last 10 years, and right now it's probably the fastest growing area in grocery. So yeah, it's big.
Eating wheat all day, you know? The body's not able to break all of that down. Yes, a gluten-free diet can be more expensive than a diet including wheat. One of the reasons for that being that wheat is a commodity and it's less expensive than its gluten-free grains, right? That's just a function of the market, you know. And also one of the reasons why in North America we tend to eat wheat so much, because it's abundant and it's inexpensive, you know. And we like it, you know. So when we eat it frequently, and we eat too much of it. We overconsume it when we eat it as well too.
They are expensive, gluten-free products. Obviously, students who are celiac or have intolerances have to buy them, but we don't tend to get a lot of students in this store, so.
I don't buy any because they still end up being processed and full of grains and like bad oils for you, so I just stay clear of them.
It's difficult to find both a healthy, delicious, and inexpensive gluten-free meal at restaurants. Martin often makes sacrifices for his health.
And it's kind of expensive, but at the same time. So like New York fries in the mall, I don't really like fries that much, but it's the only place that has mushroom gravy as opposed to like a wheat beef gravy, and like none of their sauces or anything have wheat or gluten in them. So I end up eating New York fries most days, which I don't enjoy, but like I said, it's literally the only place in the mall that doesn't have gluten in all their food. So it gets really tiring eating a poutine every single day, which sounds like a dream come true for a lot of people, but it's really not.
Courtney, Jody Turner, the nutritionist that I spoke to, said she recommends that those who choose to go gluten-free avoid wheat-like substitutes and instead eat whole grain foods. She says that they'll quickly notice the health benefits. For the 25th Hour, I'm Laura Nicholson.
With MacBooks and iPods, iTunes and iPads, modern technology is changing the way people listen to music. However, as I found out earlier this week, some Ottawa residents are staying in the groove, one vinyl record at a time.
Vinyl, records, LPs. These mediums have been a way for people to listen to music for a very long time. Recently, vinyl seems to be making a comeback in the music scene.
Getting a vinyl is so much more than just getting a CD. If you're going to buy music instead of just downloading it, you have this big thing. It usually comes with extra posters. It's just nicer to have. It's a fuller sound.
And artists are picking up on this trend.
Now any band that's releasing a record will release vinyl.
Modern artists such as Green Day and Coldplay are no longer hard things to find in record shops. Even Katy Perry is now as easily accessible by vinyl as she is by legal download.
If Katy Perry is releasing vinyl, then it's becoming extremely popular.
So people might be surprised to hear that, a lot of newer records, newer releases come out on vinyl, and some of them even skip CD entirely.
CD sales are dying because people are downloading stuff or they're buying songs on iTunes or whatever.
With the advent of technology, iPods, and now phones, music has become really, really disposable.
Vinyl's not really a part of that, you know what I mean? I really see vinyl as being just a lot more about the music.
So when you have vinyl, you can only listen to it in one situated place. And you appreciate it more. Like you don't have it all the time, but when you do have it, it's more meaningful.
And new artists seem to have picked up on the younger generation's newfound appreciation for vinyl.
It's something that the young generation demands, Our biggest clientele at the record center is probably kids from 16 to 25. Those are the people buying most of the records.
Interestingly enough, you'll actually find that as far as music sales go, with regards to physical music, records are probably, they are the only format actually on the rise. CDs, you're always going to hear stories. CDs are selling less and less every year. Anytime a new CD comes out, a lot less people are buying it.
We know it's going away. It's already on the way out, Try selling your used CDs. They're almost worthless. I have friends with big CD collections and I'm saying, maybe you should think about getting rid of those in the next year or two because you can go anywhere and the price is dropping and the demand is dropping, But records, they're here to stay for a while, I'd say,
The industry's kind of looking at themselves and thinking, okay, well, shoot, we need to find a way to kind of keep ourselves as a source of music for people. So I think that's why you might see a lot of people heading towards vinyl. I think with the ease of getting music online for free, and I think with the ease of, creating music yourself, you're seeing the record labels maybe putting more effort into, making that money that you're spending on music worthwhile.
Vinyl enthusiasts of all ages have their own reasons on why they think vinyl is worthwhile.
That could be why one of the reasons it's so popular is that it is a lot more affordable.
Just to have this big, nice, more aesthetically looking object or product makes more sense than this small, wimpy looking CD.
When you compare the two, set them up, so have the CD version
and the vinyl version, my old vinyl version. The sonic boom that comes from vinyl is incredible. Maybe it's just that it's tracking across the grooves, but you get a lot more power. So on certain classic albums, it really gives you a great effect.
Just to show you what people think of CD these days, you know, I bought the record. It's beautifully packaged, you know, and it's a beautiful record, and they give you the CD for free. There's that whole connection to the music, I think.
But it's not just about the connection with the music for everyone who listens to vinyl.
I think it is that retro, almost going back to something that's different, something, because it's being made new almost. It's definitely that kind of nostalgic idea of the idyllic past.
One Ottawa resident attempts to combine the nostalgic feeling for records with a modern-day twist. He DJs once a month in a club using only vinyl.
I just feel like I'm doing I'm not just staring at like a computer screen all night or flipping through like a CD book. I feel as though I'm doing something actually, like I'm actually thinking about it and, you know, I like looking at the different labels and stuff like that. A lot of people think like, oh, it's gonna be like super scratchy, it's gonna be super bad sounding, but it's like anything else. If you scratch a CD or whatever, or if you have like a bad MP3, it's gonna sound weird. But then if you have a record that's well taken care of, like it's gonna sound good.
I do feel it sounds better. It's warmer. You pick up details that you might not otherwise pick up. I mean, it's all relative to your system, of course, but even then there are little things that you'll notice that you might not otherwise.
If music is that accessible, then you don't really appreciate what you have before you and what you have in your hand. So when you have vinyl, you can only listen to it in one situated place. And you appreciate it more. Like you don't have it all the time, but when you do have it, it's more meaningful.
Listening to a side of an album as opposed to a song. You know, when you're involved in downloads and it's all about the song, you know, and maybe the artist didn't like that either. The thing about the records, I used to buy records and love side one. And then maybe you could own the record for years and you'd listen to side two and it's like, holy, that's amazing.
You know, we're kind of losing the album as a piece of art, and it's becoming a lot easier just to consume what you want. So by throwing a record on there, you're kind of forcing yourself to listen to the whole album as maybe the artist intended.
And maybe that's why artists like Katy Perry are choosing to release albums on vinyl.
I probably won't buy a record, but maybe one day we'll sell it here, who knows?
For the 25th hour, I'm Courtney Smith.
Whether you're 5 or 65, learning to read can be pretty tough. Our reporter Danielle Clausen sat down with Dee Sullivan, who tells us more about a local Learn to Read program for mature students. Danielle?
Marika, 4 out of 10 adult Canadians struggle with low literacy, according to Statistics Canada. I'm sitting down with Dee Sullivan at People, Words and Change. Dee is the education counselor and program coordinator here, and she's going to talk to us today about adult literacy. Thank you so much for joining us today,
You're welcome.
Dee.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dee, why is adult literacy important?
Well, because literacy touches every facet of our lives. We can't walk into a room without seeing plastered with posters or notices. You in your work life, you're constantly getting memos, emails. You have to write memos. You have to write emails. In your personal life, you're going to the bank, you're being handed documents, you're looking for directions in a new place, a new environment, trying to navigate maps. That's all part of literacy as well. It's the written word, it's the information on a chart, and information on a table, information on a map, and it's the ability to cope with it. And it's I think the demands are only getting higher as we move into more of a knowledge-based economy. You know, everyone needs a certain level of competent literacy skills, for sure.
So what programs are available to people who do struggle?
Well, there are quite a few. They're categorized. The broad category would be literacy and basic skills, helping people manage the everyday get to the level where they can manage for themselves their everyday needs in reading, in writing, in basic math, in computer literacy. It's incredibly important. And we have programs at Algonquin College, we have programs with the 2 school boards, we have independent community programs such as ours. All of them are funded by the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, and they fill that niche of, for adults who are perhaps not ready for a higher academic environment, but yet they need the everyday skills.
So how significant is it that so many adults struggle with these low literacy skills?
They're adults. A lot of people have developed sort of coping skills, and a lot of this is under the radar for many of us. Ottawa is a very highly educated city, and people don't like to admit that they need help with basic reading, writing skills, and they may have coped for quite a while by getting a coworker to help them or a family member, that kind of thing. But it is significant to be able to say, I don't need that help anymore. I can do this myself. I don't need to ask my neighbor to decipher my cable bill. I don't need to bring a couple of emails that were a little bit too long home to ask my son or daughter or spouse to help me clean up the spelling or clean up the grammar or make sure my message is, am I saying what I want the reader to, am I writing what I want the reader to know exactly? So I think it is significant. It's a huge hurdle to say I need help, and the learners who have come to us, we're just so very proud of them to say, okay, to admit, and it's hard, but okay, I need help and I'm going to get it, and that's why I'm here.
How is it different for an adult taking on learning these skills as compared to a child?
Well, children are like little sponges, and we, children, that's what they do. They go to school. Adults, you think, okay, I've done my schooling, whatever. Maybe you didn't finish high school. Maybe you went to grade 10 or grade 8, but yet you've gone out and maybe had jobs in the past where it was okay to get a good job with less than a high school education. Now you're saying, oh, I've got my routine, I've got my work routine, I've got my home routine, and all of a sudden you want me to start studying again, and it's not easy. Yet I find once that decision is made, once that hurdle has been cleared, the people our adults are quite delighted to be back, because we're a very supportive environment. We there's no shame, no blame. We welcome the ability to help people, and we don't want them staying with us. Don't get that, get me wrong here. We want to help people and then go, get that better job or do better at your job you have, or you've been laid off, you've been your job has been taken out from underneath you. Well, you need to retrain. Well, let's help you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dee. That was really great.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Back to you, Marika.
Thanks, Danielle. Now for something a little on the spooky side. They may be in your rafters, under your bed, in your kitchen, or your basement. Ghosts. Whether a skeptic or a true believer, an Ottawa team of ghost hunters is ready to stake out their every move. Reporter Laura Jacobchuk is standing by to take us on a ghost hunt. Laura?
Marika, every year, paranormal societies across Ottawa stake out historic haunted sites, like this windmill in Prescott, hoping to find evidence of the spiritual world. While ghost hunting isn't considered an exact science, these professionals have plenty of gear to get the job done.
It takes a lot of guts and a lot of patience. Under the cover of darkness, these ghost hunters stake out abandoned buildings, hoping to contact the spirits they suspect are lingering inside.
We're a free organization, nonprofit, that we go and we investigate places to see if there's any kind of paranormal activity, ghosts, poltergeists, anything else really.
Welcome to Battle of the Windmill National Historic Site. Almost 50 people were killed on these grounds 175 years ago when soldiers fought off advancing American troops. A group of investigators from Bytown Paranormal suspect ghosts of the murdered men may have been left behind.
As a child, I was always interested in the paranormal. I think it started with the X-Files, really. I loved it. No matter how many nightmares I had, I still had to watch anything that I could that was just creepy and abnormal.
An experienced ghost hunter, McLeod carries his top-of-the-line gear to each site.
So this is pretty much everything that we use for an investigation. These are infrared lights, so in a completely dark room to a camera, this will light up the entire thing. This is an EVP, so it stands for electronic voice phenomena. It's meant to capture anything that we can't hear with our own ears.
For an investigation, ghost hunters record their questions. Later, they'll replay the audio, listening for a response.
It's an EVP session. It's me and James up on the top level of the old windmill. If there's anyone in here with us tonight, can you please tell me your name? Can you tell me how old you are? If there's anyone here with us tonight, can you make a noise for us? Something like this?
Skeptics say ghost hunters need to be careful because the evidence they collect with their gear can easily mislead them. Darren McKee is a member of Ottawa Skeptics. His organization encourages the use of rational and scientific thinking.
And the problem with paranormal investigations, especially with ghosts, is what would actually show that there is a ghost? So often they use the proxies that they seem to use is like, well, there was a decrease in temperature in this particular area. Like, well, so what? Why would that matter?
Still, many ghost hunters say they have experiences that can't be explained by science. It was on this stakeout at the Ottawa jail, McLeod's team caught the sound of a door opening on one of their night vision cameras. Alarmed, McLeod jumps up to check the door.
There's nobody by this door.
After a quick search, he finds no one.
The door opened, we heard something that sounded like a voice saying, you're not supposed to be here. A little creepy when you're in a dark place.
Ghost hunters aren't the only ones who have seen something eerie in the Carleton County Jail. The building is considered to be one of the country's most haunted sites. Kate Boone walks people through its infamous death row as a tour guide for Haunted Walks Ottawa.
And I'm the type of person who is very into science and facts, but at the same time, sometimes you just get a feeling. You just get this feeling that somebody's watching you. I'm not even religious, and I started wearing a cross just in case, because I've heard terrible, interesting stories about things that have happened to people, so I didn't want to take any chances just in case.
Not everyone on the tour shares Kate's fears of a vengeful ghost in the hostel, but many keep an open mind when it comes to the paranormal.
I believe that they exist. I just don't believe that we can have any interaction with them at all.
I believe that there's a spiritual world that we're not aware of.
No, yeah, I do believe in ghosts and spirits for sure. I have never encountered them before.
Even skeptics don't completely rule out the possibility.
And we say that because you shouldn't be closed-minded to anything. Even if it's 100 times shown not to be true, it still could be true. So it is possible that there are ghosts or paranormal activity. It's just that so far it seems like the evidence has not demonstrated it to be actually true.
As for the windmill investigation, it was a dead end. No flickering lights or slamming doors this time. McLeod's team will spend the next few weeks combing the audio recorders in hope of finding a sign from the paranormal.
Nobody knows 100% if there really is life after death, but we'll all find out someday.
For the 25th hour, I'm Laura Jacobschak.
Thanks, Laura. Well, that's it for this edition of the 25th Hour. I'm Marika Large.
And I'm Courtney Smith. On behalf of our producer, Nikki Gladstone, our writer, Kelsey Johnson, and all of us here at the show, thanks for watching.